Hello, everyone, and welcome back to American Ultras Talk. The USMNT are now into the final of the Gold Cup after taking down Guatemala 2-1 in the semifinal, a game that was a lot closer than it should have been. And actually, before we start, the first thing I want to do is congratulate Guatemala on their incredible run, mainly because when I'm giving the analysis of this game, the players, the manager, all of that, uh, some of the things that I'm going to say are going to seem like I'm disregarding Guatemala as an opponent or their quality. And I just want to congratulate all of them on their run. It was incredible. Honestly, I think the passion that they showed, their fans in particular showed. I mean, that stadium in St. Louis was 90% probably Guatemala fans. I would argue that based on how they showed in this tournament, they probably deserve to be in the final more than we do. They did an excellent job against Canada, of course, to get it to penalties. Yeah, they were up a man for the entire half, but still, that's one of the best teams in CONCACAF. It's the team that I think a lot of people thought were probably the favorites for the Gold Cup heading in. And I think all things considered, they just did an incredible job to get to a point where I don't think anyone would have predicted them to get to. So huge props to Guatemala. With that being said, I'm going to start with the starting lineup that Mauricio Pochettino put out for the USMNT, and there's going to be a lot of criticisms I have of Poch throughout the video, but the first one is with the lineup. Now, of course, we put out a starting 11 that was the exact same as the quarterfinal against Costa Rica, and here's the number one reason why I don't understand that decision at all. Obviously, these games are being played in the summer in the US. I mean, we've already seen how Europeans and people from the rest of the world are complaining about the weather in the US during the summer because of the Club World Cup, all of the weather delays that have happened there. Of course, we have the cooling breaks every single game because it's so hot. And there's not a huge turnaround in between games either. I mean, it was just a few days in between the quarterfinals and the semifinals, and now it's 3 more days until the final against Mexico. Realistically, probably the only good, really quality opponent that we will face the entirety of the tournament. Maybe you can argue Saudi Arabia, but they were missing like 3 of their best players thanks to Al Hilal being in the Club World Cup. So I don't even think you can really count them. But yeah, there's just not a lot of time in between games. It's a very, very hot conditions, humid, not the best conditions by any means for the players to be playing in, especially because of the pitch today. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the sides, the wings, both on both sides of the field were different grass than the middle of the pitch, which was super weird. And honestly, I don't know how they let that slide for, especially for a semifinal, even for a friendly. I would think it was a little bit suspect, but I'm not really sure why we played in a stadium that had 2 different kinds of grass on the pitch. But anyways, all of this point is saying is the conditions are not great. It's a very short turnaround. Why are the same 11 players being started every single game? And not only that, they're playing the majority of the game because Pochettino refuses to make subs until the very end. We had 1 sub before the 77th minute today, and the only reason that sub was made is because Luca de la Torre picked up a yellow card, and we brought on Brendan Aronson to replace him, to go out, play at a wing. Berhalter shifted in. We saw the same thing against Costa Rica, where Poch's lack of substitutions almost cost us. In that game, we didn't have a single sub until the 78th minute. And then the other subs came in the 83rd, they came in the 90th. Again, it just doesn't make sense why Poch refuses to use any other players besides these 11, especially when we've been shown time and time again that these 11 are not necessarily the best players on the roster by any means. And that's another reason why I don't understand why you're not making any rotation, is because this tournament we knew coming in was going to be for a couple things. It was going to be for players like Malik Tillman, like Diego Luna, like Tyler Adams, like Chris Richards. Less so Tyler because we've already seen it with him, but mainly those 3 guys, Tillman, Luna, Richards, to prove themselves under the USMNT shirt. Tillman in particular was one huge question mark. Him and Johnny Cardoso, we've been questioning, of course, their form for the USMNT because it hasn't replicated what they've been like at their clubs. Even Richards, to an extent, had been pretty shaky and definitely not living up to his Crystal Palace form for the US. Finally, we are now seeing the best version of these guys with the national team shirt. And that is huge. That's one of the main things we were looking for coming into the summer, and we got it. So that's a huge positive. The other thing we were looking for coming into the summer is, okay, we know that our A team, the majority of them are not going to be here. So which of these guys that are called in now can be valuable depth pieces for the World Cup next year? And the only way you figure that out is by actually giving them all a fair chance. It's not by starting Max Arfsten in every single game of the entire summer, besides the one against Haiti where Poch rotated basically everybody. It's not by starting Patrick Adjumang every single game and not subbing him out, despite the fact that he's clearly lost a step even by his standards. I mean, of course, we know his standards. We'll get to the individual players later on, but he waited until the 85th minute to sub out Adjumang when it was clear he had lost a step. He was tired. He had heavy legs. Even the announcers who have been paid to promote all of these MLS guys like Adjumang, you noticed it, that he had lost a step and the sub should have been made earlier. Guys like Sebastian Berhalter, there's just nothing special about him besides his fight and intensity, but even that is kind of the bare minimum for everyone. Guys like Tim Ream, who is 37 years old, playing every 3 days. That's not really healthy for him, even as a center back, and he's even been shaky. Look at De La Torre. We know he's not exactly it. Why are guys like Paxton Aronson barely getting played? Why is Mark McKenzie on the bench? Why is Quinn Sullivan, who was really good, I would say, maybe not really good, but he was very solid in his one start against Haiti, why has he not seen any minutes after that game? We've had 2 matches since then. He hasn't seen the pitch in either of them. It just doesn't really make sense to me what Poch is doing. Of course, there's the huge problem of Damian Downs not playing over Patrick Adjumang. Even Brian White, why not play him? Why not play Tolkien over Arfsten? There's just so many questions in terms of the lineup, and I know that we're going to rotate or not rotate at all against Mexico. It's probably going to be these exact 11 players. Maybe one change gets made here or there. Maybe Berhalter comes out. Maybe De La Torre comes out. I can't see any other changes happening besides that. And Mexico is just going to have so much more energy than us. And when it's really the first good opponent that you're facing and you're barely struggling to get by these lower quality teams, I'm worried for how the final is going to go against Mexico because of the players' energy levels, because of the players' quality levels in some instances. Overall, I just don't really understand what Poch is doing in terms of that. That was kind of a long rant in terms of the lineup. So now let's get into the individual players. I'm sure some more things about the tactics and Poch will come up, but let's start with the goalkeeper, Matt Fries, and we'll just, for all of these guys, give a little description of some notable moments, give them a player rating, because that's what you guys seem to enjoy the most about these post-match videos, are player ratings. So I'll start with Matt Fries, and I'll give him a 7. I thought he did what he was asked to be done. The goal was not his fault at all, by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think there's really anything that he can do on that. He made some good saves, 4 saves it was, and I would say 2 or 3 of them at least were pretty solid. The one knock on him for this game, and it's a knock on him in general really, is of course his distribution, but I liked the fact that a lot of the time he wasn't really necessarily trying to play it out of the back. He got put in some tight spots earlier this summer and he was trying to play it out of the back. After the mistake against Haiti, in both of these games against Costa Rica and Guatemala, it seems like he's taking a lot fewer risks. He's just booting the ball out if there's any pressure, and maybe that's not good for the style of play that Poch wants, but I actually think it's the right decision because I'm fine with just playing a long ball, especially if we are going to have a guy like Adjumang up top. Just boot it long to him. I mean, he's bigger and stronger than the center backs of every single team that we're going to play in this tournament. So you may as well try to utilize that slight strength that you have and just boot the ball. And if you lose it, that's fine. It's a lot better than losing it in the final third. But yeah, I'll give Fries a 7. It probably would have been an 8 if he was better with his feet, but it is what it is. Solid performance from him. Alex Freeman up next, and I'm going to give him actually a 7 as well. I thought he was very solid. I will say the one knock that I do have on him is on the goal. I don't think it was mainly his fault. I think that you can probably place the blame more on someone like Chris Richards, who needs to be doing better to step up and make a challenge there. But Freeman also missed an opportunity to do that right before Richards did. So I'll give him a slight knock there. That's why it's maybe not a 7.5, but he was really solid defensively, besides that moment, as always, as he has been really the entire summer. And finally, Poch has given him some freedom to push forward more. I mean, we saw it against Costa Rica. He had some nice moments. Adams was dropping in as the third center back and allowing both fullbacks, mainly in the first part of the summer, it was just Arston and Freeman was staying back. But now finally we're seeing both of them push forward. And as a result of that, we get the first goal because Luna switches the ball out to Alex Freeman. He's finally allowed to get forward. He puts in a cutback for Tillman. Tillman's touch goes to De La Torre. De La Torre takes the shot, and then Luna gets the rebound and makes it 1-0 very early on in the game in the 4th minute. And all of that happens because Alex Freeman is finally allowed to get forward. He also had one chance where he crossed the ball into Ajimong, and Ajimong's header he should have done better with. I mean, as a guy who's, again, as physically imposing as he is, tall, strong, all of that, he needs to be doing better with his headers. That's one of the many flaws in his game. But could have been an assist for Freeman there. I thought he played very well. Again, it probably would have been a 7.5 or 8 if not for the goal, which isn't fully on him, but it is a little bit. Good performance from him. He's been very solid, especially as the youngest player here in this roster. I've really liked what I've seen from him this so far this summer. Now we'll do the left back, Max Arston, the other fullback. I'm going to give him a 5.5. He wasn't involved in 4 goals like he was last game. Of course, he got the goal and assist, and then he had the penalty and the horrible defending on the second goal as well for Costa Rica in the quarterfinal. Not involved in any goals today, which I would argue is probably a good thing. You don't really want your left back to be at fault for anything, and anything going forward from a fullback is an added bonus, a cherry on top, if you will. So I'm just going to give him a 5.5. I think it was a very average performance. He still had some moments inexplicably where he's just giving the ball away, passing it to areas where there's nobody even near. In terms of a teammate, it's just going straight to Guatemala. So that's why it's not a 6. For me, 6 is average. I know some people have 5 as average. For me, it's 6 because when you start the game on basically every app rating system, a 6 is what you start with. So that's what I'm going to go with as average. I'll give Arston slightly below that just because I think some of his passes were bad. He didn't really offer anything going forward, didn't really have any defensive liability moments. So just an average match for him. A lot less involved than he was against Costa Rica, and ultimately that's a good thing. So that's the one positive I'll say for him. The center backs, Richards and Ream, I'm going to give them both a 5. I think, again, there wasn't a lot of moments that either of them did poorly on, but it's against Guatemala, and at the end of the day, you're letting a guy who is an MLS Next Pro player, not even now he's just not getting any minutes because he transferred to CF Montreal, but he is an MLS Next Pro player. He was for New England Revolution too. He is an 18-year-old who was born in the U.S., isn't even good enough to make our U20 team, and he's still scoring on you as a Premier League defender, in particular Richards. Ream was also a Premier League defender recently. You have to be doing better against this. I think it's kind of inexplicable what happened on the goal, especially from Richards. And Ream, I'm going to give a similar rating because I didn't really like what he did on the ball. It seems like his age has finally been showing a little bit this summer. His decision-making on the ball is just too slow, too many times, and ultimately he makes the right pass a lot of the time, a lot more times than he doesn't, but the right pass comes a few seconds too slowly, and we can't have a counter-attacking opportunity because of it, a fast break because of it. And ultimately, I just think he's lost a step a little bit, and it's a concern for me going forward against potentially better teams that we're going to face in these friendlies before the World Cup and then in the World Cup in general. So I still don't think he's the solution here. Defensively, this tournament, he hasn't been as bad as he probably would be against better opponents, but again, you take it with a grain of salt. You're going up against USL level players. Now onto the midfield, and we'll start with Tyler Adams. He's the true six in the double pivot with Luca de la Torre. I thought Adams deserves a six, pretty average. You also have to take into account that Tyler Adams is one of the best players on this roster. Him, Tillman, Richards, I think it's fair to say they're the three best in terms of just overall quality that are getting minutes. You can throw Johnny Cardoso in there as well, but he's been injured the past few games, hasn't really gotten a lot of minutes in the Gold Cup, so I don't really count him as much. Adams did all the right things defensively, as he always does, just getting in amongst it, winning the ball back, being annoying. It's what he does best, being a destroyer, and I thought he was very good at that today. The one thing that he isn't good at, I would say, is passing. He had a few moments, a couple of times, where we gave the ball away in dangerous positions just because passing is not his strength, and it continues to bother me. This is another thing that I don't like about the lineup that Poch is putting out. If you're going to have Tyler Adams as the six, and especially if he's dropping deep to receive the ball and be the first point of building out of the back as the third center back, you have to have his double pivot partner be better than someone like Luca de la Torre. Usually it's Weston McKennie, which is fine. I think it should be Jack McGlynn for this entire tournament, but specifically for the final. Tyler Adams, his really one deficiency is on the ball. Jack McGlynn's huge strength, and it's really the only part of his game that stands out in a huge way, is his ability on the ball. So you offset Adams's problems, and you also offset McGlynn's defensive deficiencies with Adams' expertise being that. I think it's just the perfect partnership. I don't know why Poch is playing McGlynn as a winger. It's the same inexplicable reason why Berhalter is now being played more out wide since he's taking McGlynn's spot in the lineup. I just add it to the list of things that I don't understand about Poch's tactics this summer, but that's one change I would like to see. So back to Adams, I'm giving him a 6. I think on the ball in possession is just not what we're looking for. But again, we know that that's not a strength of his game. We know that that's something that we have to accommodate. So you can't really be too harsh on the guy for that, because that's stuff that we're seeing in every game for club, for country, and it's not really hurting us in the grand scheme of things. He's doing more good things than he is doing bad things. Now his double pivot partner, Luca de la Torre, I'm going to give him a 4. I just don't think he does much for this team. Yuri likes to call him Luca de la Boring, and I thought that's what he was in this game. He was very ineffective for the 58 minutes that he played. Got a yellow card, got taken off shortly after that. Aronson came on. It's just not a lot from Luca. The one thing, you know what, I'll boost his rating actually up to a 4.5 because I forgot he had the shot on goal that led to Luna's first goal. Of course, the keeper makes the save. Luna gets to the rebound first and does well to finish. So I'll give Luca a slight bump on that, but it's not like it was a fantastic shot that had the goalkeeper fully outstretched, making a diving save. I think, in all honesty, a better goalkeeper makes a better play on the ball where Luna isn't in a position to get that rebound. But you can only play who you're up against. Credit to Luca for taking the shot in the first place, because you have to take the shot. You have to test the keeper to get goals. So credit to him for doing that. But just outside of that, I just don't think he was effective at all. It didn't really show anything on defense either. So I can't be too critical, I can't be too high on what he did today. Next up, we'll go with Sebastian Berhalter, because he was kind of playing right wing, but we know he's really more of a midfielder. And I thought this was another pretty quiet game from Berhalter, definitely a lot more quiet than he has been in a couple of the other games. I gave Luca a 4.5. I'll give Berhalter a 5. I just don't think he really did as much defensively. Mainly his sole purpose on this team really is to do the dirty work, to get in people's heads. He's obviously undersized, but his character is one of the biggest on the entire team. He's the guy who's going to bring the passion, the mentality, kind of like Tyler Adams does. He's basically just Timu Tyler Adams in that way. But even defensively today, I thought he was pretty poor. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I don't want to give him criticism for something that he wasn't involved in, but I believe the first part of the Guatemala goal was him and Aronson getting split. I believe that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't. but it could have been somebody else. So correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but I think it was him. And overall, defensively, I just didn't think he had as much of an impact. Didn't really do much going forward. I think we all know by now that really the only thing that Berhalter can do going forward is his set pieces. And today, I just don't think the set pieces were that great. Again, it begs the question, why is Jack McGlynn not playing? He's better at set pieces. He's better on the ball in general. He's just better at basically every aspect of the game, other than maybe the defensive part. But again, you have Adams there for that. And also, it's Guatemala. Why are you playing two defensive-minded midfielders, and one of them's on the wing? I don't understand the decision. But that's Sebastian Berhalter. Moving on now to Malik Tillman, who was playing the 10. And I thought this was another very strong game from Malik Tillman. I'm actually going to give him a 7.5, I think. The biggest thing that I've liked seeing from Malik Tillman this summer, and it was no different in this game, is the defensive work, because our previous 10, Gio Reyna, one of the biggest criticisms of him was his defensive side of the game was almost non-existent. And at the end of the day, that's part of the reason why he hasn't been getting as many minutes as we would have liked him to these past few seasons with Dortmund. Obviously, there's the injury problems. There's a lot of guys ahead of him. There's a lot of reasons why he's not playing, but one of them is because his defensive deficiencies do show at a high level. And having Malik in there, having a number 10 in there who is as creative as he is, of course, getting an assist on Luna's second goal. Of course, it really wasn't much of an assist for him. Luna did a lot of the work there, but they all count, I guess. And I mean, he's shown his creativity in every other game of this tournament so far, and not even just the assist. I mean, he's creating chances. His combination play with Luna has been really fun to watch, honestly, but having someone who can do that and also step in defensively and win a few tackles a game, get into their heads, draw some fouls back, especially when he had one play towards the end of the second half where he bodied a Guatemalan player, won the ball back cleanly, and then baited a guy in, did a little L-turn, and won a foul. And that's just, I think, the essence of Tillman, and it's why he's been so crucial for this team. There was a stat that Stu Holden tweeted out before the game where it said that Tillman was leading the USMNT in this Gold Cup with like goals, chances created, a lot of attacking stats, but also like tackles, recoveries, a lot of defensive things as well. He's truly been carrying the national team this summer in every aspect, going forward, defensive wise. He's doing everything. There's not really much more you could ask from him. So great game from him. Not a bad word I can say about his performance today or in any of the games so far this summer. And talking about good performances, let's move on to the man of the match, the guy who basically bailed us out because, to be honest, after his 2 goals, we really didn't offer much. We decided to sit back and kind of defend. I mean, Guatemala were threatening in the final 15 minutes of the first half. They were threatening for most of the second half. Another decision that I don't really understand from Poch. Maybe it's just because we weren't clinical. There was a couple of chances that we had to kill the game off, mainly from Adjumon screwing things up top. But again, that's also Poch's decision to start him. This is the kind of game that we should have been killing off in the first half, 3 or 4-0. And then maybe if you're up by that much, yeah, you can sit back and let them have the ball, rest a little bit, rest up for the final. But we made it a lot closer than we needed to. But that's enough complaining. Back to Diego Luna. What a game he had. Of course, even the first goal, which is kind of a tap-in, it's off the rebound, he still did well to be the first one to react, get to the ball, and it wasn't even really much of a tap-in because the goalkeeper was still there. He had to finish with his left foot past the keeper. Did well to give us an early lead because I think we've seen at times with this national team that if we don't go out to an early lead, then we can kind of stagnate. We saw it against Saudi Arabia. We just were really struggling to break down their low block. I mean, how many times have we seen that in the past few years with Greg in charge, with Poch in charge, with the A-team, with this Gold Cup team? Regardless, we just continue to struggle to break things down. So getting not only the first early goal, but the second as well, I think was absolutely huge. The second one was just Diego Luna being Diego Luna. I've seen so many people call him a street baller, and I think it's a pretty good comparison. He just plays with a kind of energy that is so different from anything we've seen in the U.S. pool in such a long time, maybe even ever. You just never know what he's going to do with the ball, and I think that showed perfectly on his second goal, beating a couple defenders, beautiful finish. There's nothing really more you could have asked for from Luna. He should have had a hat trick as well. Let's not forget that Ajimong got an opportunity to play a through ball to him that he probably would have finished. And this was in the first half too. It would have been a first half hat trick for Luna. Ajimong plays the ball instead of through, just slot it through. It's a hat trick. He plays it behind him, and it wasn't even like close, like behind him where he had to like stop running to get the ball. It was just so incredibly far behind him. Just killed the opportunity. Just one of many times that Ajimong killed it. And while we're talking about him, let's just do his rating, since I'm giving Luna a 9. If he had gotten that hat trick, it's no fault of his own, but I don't think you can really give players higher than a 9 if they don't score a hat trick or do something truly spectacular. But on the topic of Ajimong, it's so exhausting talking about him because it's just constant negativity, and there's a lot of defending of him online just because all of the feedback and analysis that there is on him is just all negative, because there just isn't really much positive to say. I mean, the only thing that you can say is, okay, he's doing a good job to hold the ball up. Well, he's several inches taller than the center backs he's up against. He's a lot stronger than them. He's heavier. He has more muscle mass. And at the end of the day, the center backs that he's going up against, it's a 32-year-old who plays in Guatemala and a 29-year-old who plays in Romania. Not exactly the highest level of center backs to be going up against, and yet still he's struggling to do anything really against them. He had the one in the first half where he was miles offside, and then had all the time in the world, the one-on-one with the keeper. For some reason, the flag wasn't raised until after, even though there was so much space between him and the last defender. He doesn't even hit the target. It wasn't even like a save by the keeper. He just shoots it wide. He had the other one in the second half. These are just a couple moments in particular. I know there was more, but I'm just going to pinpoint the one that I just did. And then this other one where Luna had a beautiful touch to bring down. I think it was a Tim Ream long ball. He played it to Aronson. Aronson timed and weighted the through ball perfectly. He waited until the last possible moment where Ajimong was still onside, making the run. He gets through and behind. No defenders. It's just a one-on-one with the goalkeeper. But like basically all of his other one-on-ones, he messes it up, takes the wrong touch, keeper ends up saving it. He goes out, gets the rebound, has a wild shot from a bad angle that ends up going out for a goal kick. Again, if we have someone like Damian Downs up top, maybe even Brian White, who knows? He really hasn't gotten... I don't think he's actually played at all in the Gold Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't remember a single time Brian White played in the Gold Cup so far. He had 1 minute against Costa Rica. That's right. He came on right before the penalty shootout and then didn't take a penalty. That was kind of weird. And then he had 8 minutes off the bench against Haiti in a game that we were rotating. But Ajimong still started somehow. I don't understand it. I'm just going to leave it at that because all the negativity, it's just saying the same analysis every single game. Nothing really changes. Even his hold-up play is suspect. He had one where he got the ball, he held it up. We could have created a counter, but he decided to pass it back to a Guatemala player, not just that was near him, but a Guatemala player that was basically next to our defense. He bypassed the midfield entirely, played it to probably one of their strikers or their winger. I don't remember which, but it basically created a counterattack in the final third already for Guatemala when he had just had the ball in our final third. So there's just nothing more I can say. I'm just going to give him a 3. He should have scored several goals. He didn't. 3 is probably even being generous, to be honest. I think you'll see several people give him lower. But there's not much more I can say about him. I'm sorry, guys. Now we'll go to the subs. Be quick on these. Brendan Aronson was the only sub who really played meaningful minutes. He was on for about 32 is the official count, but added stoppage time 35, 37. Outside of that one chance that I just mentioned where he got the ball from Luna, played the great through ball that should have been an assist. So, I mean, if Ajimong finishes the chance, or if we have a different number 9 up top, I think we're talking about this game from Brenden Aaronson very differently, because he would have had the assist that killed the game off to make it 3-0. But outside of that, there wasn't really much that he did. He was really on the pitch to just sit behind the ball and pressure, and it worked a couple of times. Him and Downs, once Downs came on, had some nice moments in the press where they forced Guatemala back. Ultimately, I'll just give Brenden I'll give him a 6.5, because again, for me, 6 is average. I'll give him the plus 0.5 for the through ball that I thought was very, very good. Should have been an assist. Outside of that, he didn't really offer much. You know what? Actually, I'll knock it back down to a 6, because I just remembered he was one of the guys. I know it was for certain him. I think the other one was Berhalter, like I mentioned. Maybe it was McGlynn or somebody, but he was one of the guys who initially got split for the sequence that led to the Guatemala goal. So I'll give him a plus 0.5 for what should have been the assist, minus 0.5 for the goal. Ultimately, it's a 6 from Brenden Aaronson. He's another one, though, who we really should have seen more of this tournament, especially as a guy who has so much experience like him. He's one of the main guys that should have been cementing his place in the roster as one of the key contributors in this tournament. And he just hasn't gotten the opportunity to do that, which I don't really understand. But that's all for him. 77th minute, we bring on John Tolkien and Jack McGlynn. And I'll just say, not only were these subs too late, they just didn't really make sense in general, because I do think bringing off Luna was the right call. Bringing off Tyler Adams when you're defending a lead, you're one true 6 that's even in the roster, because Johnny Cardoso didn't dress because of the injury. It is, especially for a guy in Jack McGlynn who has his strengths, but one of his strengths is not, I mean, really his only weakness, I would argue, is defending. And we kind of saw that a little bit. He didn't really offer much defensively when he came on. He did have one that should have been probably an assist to Freeman off of a free kick, already offering more on set pieces, by the way, than Berhalter did in his full 90 minutes. He had the one left-footed free kick, whipped it into a dangerous area. Ultimately, Alex Freeman's header didn't end in a goal, but easily could have. I just don't understand the decision to not only bring off Tyler Adams, but you bring on John Tolkien for Diego Luna. I think bringing off Luna, for the record, was the right call. I think he was gassed. He'd given everything he could. But why on earth are you still having a guy in Max Arston who plays winger for his club in Columbus? You sub on John Tolkien, yet you still have Arston at left back and you play Tolkien as a winger. It makes zero sense whatsoever. The only things good that Arston has offered this entire summer have been some moments in the attack. Of course, he had that goal and assist against Costa Rica. He had 2 assists in the first game against Trinidad and Tobago. He's had some nice moments where he's beaten the defender one-on-one off the dribble. He is a winger. He's not a fullback. That's what his position is. Is he a high-level winger? Not really, but at the very least, if you're going to have them both out there, why is Tolkien the one who's playing winger? It tells me that Poch doesn't know really these players as in-depth as he should as the coach of this national team, and it's just a little disappointing. But in terms of their actual performances, I don't think there's much that we can really say for either of them. Again, McGlynn had the set piece, cool. I'll give him maybe an extra 0.5 for that. But again, defensively, it just wasn't the right sub to make. Tolkien was fine. I thought he did his job defensively. I'm just going to give them both 6s, average, whatever. Zimmerman and Damian Downs finally came in the 85th minute. I actually thought these subs were good. They were just way too late. Again, I mean, this has been the constant theme for substitutions so far this summer. Downs came on for Ajimong. That should have happened 20 minutes earlier. Honestly, it should have happened before the match even started, because Downs should be starting over Ajimong. But I mean, I've made this complaint. So many people have made this complaint so many times. It's not going to change anything. That's just our opinion. It is what it is. Zimmerman comes on for Arston. We play a back 5. Tolkien gets to play left back like he should have been in the first place. Zimmerman makes, I think, one crucial clearance, so props to him for that. I don't understand why him and Ream now are both getting minutes over Mark McKenzie, but it is what it is. Zimmerman did what we asked him to do. I don't think I can really rate either of them because they barely played. It was 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the match where we were just sitting back and hoping Guatemala wouldn't equalize. But yeah, that's my thoughts on all of the players in particular. We're going up against Mexico in the final. To be honest, I'm not very optimistic about our chances. I think that on paper we have a pretty similar level team to them. But the one thing that I think is important to note that we've only played Mexico one time under Pochettino. It was his first camp, actually. It was a friendly in Mexico, which is a very rare occurrence. Playing Mexico in Mexico usually doesn't happen unless it's World Cup qualifying. But we went there and we got flat out embarrassed. Of course, there was a lot of players missing, but there's even more players missing now. And that was honestly, I think that game against Mexico was the worst performance by far of the Pochettino era. And it was only a friendly. They haven't gotten a chance to go up against Poch's USMNT in a competitive game yet. I'm sure they would have loved to, and I think it was Tack make this point as well. I'm sure they would have loved to come up against us in the Nations League final, but we lost to Panama, and it ended up being Mexico versus Panama, and then we lost the third place game as well to Canada's Jesse Marsh, who, again, also would have loved to have come up against us in a competitive setting because, yeah, they lost to Guatemala, but Guatemala also gave us a harder game than it should have been. And Jesse Marsh's Super Bowl, I think we know, he's playing against the U.S. As much as he focuses on talking about us in the media and not his own team. But these two teams, and Mexico in particular, are itching to come up against us. And this is going to be their first opportunity to go up against us in not only just a competitive match, but a final. And there's some bad blood, and it was they've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. Is the point I've been trying to make. Even last Gold Cup when we had BJ Callahan, I think, was the manager. Greg wasn't officially back yet. He wasn't managing the team. We didn't even make a deep run in that tournament. We ended up getting knocked out in, I don't remember if it was the quarters or the semis, but it was to Panama on penalties. We didn't even get the chance to go up against Mexico. They haven't played against us in a knockout setting in a long time. And so I think it was actually since the 2021 final where Horvath made that save. Maybe it was Nations League as well, but in the Gold Cup in particular, they've been waiting for this chance for a long time. And now that we have tired legs, not necessarily the best team, there's a lot of guys missing, they have their A team. It's the perfect opportunity for them. And honestly, I'm a little bit worried. But you're just going to have to stay tuned, see how that game is going. We might do a live stream, a watch along for that game. I'll have to talk to Yuri about it. Maybe I'll end up doing it solo as well if he's not available. Let us know in the comments what you think about that idea, if you want to see that. And if enough people say that they want it, we'll do it, whether it's just me, whether it's both of us. If you guys want it, we'll deliver. But that's all for this video. It was a little bit long, but that's all my analysis on the players, Pochettino, the tactics, and basically everything about the game. We're on to the final now. Hopefully we can get it done and make it a successful summer for whatever it's worth with this roster. But that's everything. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. It helps us a lot. Like the video if you enjoyed. Stay tuned for, of course, our coverage of the final. And we'll see you next time.